Moving the immovable object. Modern science looks at stone monuments around the world, with some stones weighing several tons each, and they wonder, how did the ancients build these? Even with our advanced technology, we would be hard-pressed to duplicate their feat. Nevertheless, the results stand mute, staring us in the face. They did it. Many human beings look at the entrenched governments in our world, realizing that they do not serve the people they claim to serve. There was a time, not that many years ago, when most people actually believed whatever the government told them. That time has ended with the advent of the Internet and the free exchange of ideas around the world. Now, a significant number of people know that governments are bought and paid for by a relative handful of extremely wealthy individuals. Those individuals we call the elite have long had a vision of ruling the world with absolute authority. Because of their wealth and the apparent power it gives them, they seem like an immovable object. Yet, despite the fact that they seem entrenched, they shall be moved. When the lawsuit hit me in mid-2005, I felt there must be some mistake. At first I had trouble believing that the courts would ever allow such a frivolous contention as that made by the plaintiffs. I was certainly incorrect. As the weeks turned into months, the system seemed more and more like an immovable object to me. I felt as if I was in way over my head. That's why I relied on lawyers, first one, then a second one. I actually believed they were there to serve me. Again, I was incorrect. I came to realize that attorneys, for the most part, only serve themselves. They were simply another element of the entrenched system that seemed like an immovable object. After the second lawyer was dismissed from the case when I was unable to pay his outrageous bill, I began to study the law. I uncovered many things, including the fact that there is always remedy within the law, and the immovable object is never as intractable as it seems. Oh yes, they do have an air of arrogance and superiority, but I have come to see that it is all a charade. The only authority they actually have is derived from the ignorance of the general population. For you see, governments do derive their power from the governed. And only when the governed are content within their ignorance and apathetic about their situation can the government retain its illusion of authority. Once people begin to wake up and educate themselves, the immovable object seems a whole lot less formidable. As I learned about the power of the notarized affidavit, I began to shift things in my favor. I empowered myself with knowledge of the law, and I secured my property rights that they were trying to steal from me. I was even able to recover many intangible rights that they had stolen from me in my ignorance. With the filing of my UCC-1, I had built a legal framework that restored my sovereignty as an individual human being. Truly, I was able to create a solid foundation upon which I could stand with a fairly high level of confidence. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the immovable object went away. I wish I could. They still attempt to use their power of intimidation against me. However, it doesn't work anymore. Even as the attorney representing the bank involved in the case admitted they had lost the note and asked the court to allow them to use a copy as if it were an original, it was almost laughable to me. I know that the legal society in which attorneys and judges operate see the people as stupid. Yet I wonder how they can be so stupid as well. Do they not pay attention to the news, even mainstream news? Do they not realize how widespread the information about bank fraud has become? Apparently not. She, the bank's lawyer, made her second unlawful motion in less than a year. Without holding the original note, the bank has no lawful standing before the court, and to make a motion without documentation constitutes fraud on the court. Give me a break. These are attorneys. They're supposed to know the law. They do. They are simply blinded by greed and empowered by the ignorance of the vast majority of people who let them get away with it most of the time. While I may be a solitary individual, knowing that I am a sovereign levels the playing field for me. Actually, it tilts it in my favor. From where do I derive such confidence? It's more than simply knowing who I am and what my rights are. You see, I also know what time it is. The paradigm is changing. The shift of the ages is happening right now. The immovable object is being moved. That's right, folks. We have a ringside seat as we watch the world change in front of us. Already we can see the cracks appearing in the entrenched structure of the system, unless we are totally oblivious to the world around us. Those cracks to the perceptual individual are appearing right where they belong, in the global financial network. The old cliche, he who has the gold makes the rules, has been the way the world works. Has been. The downfall of the system is that they no longer have the gold. It has been replaced with paper, intrinsically worthless paper. Of course, as long as we have people who believe the paper is valuable, the system goes forward. However, the banking crisis caused by foreclosure fraud is revealing something very significant. Here's how it works, folks. In a credit-based economy, which is what we have, money is created by a borrower. It does not exist until someone is willing to put their name on an agreement. Actually, it's not even their name. It's a straw man. What is a straw man? By definition, it is a legal fiction. It is a corporation. It can be a corporation of one, that is, an individual, or it can be a company of people. In either case, it is a legal fiction, just like our money. The entire structure is based on a lie, and it cannot survive the light of truth. Those pieces of paper, which include so-called contracts that are never signed by the lending institutions, are valuable only when we remain willing to serve the lie by paying them. But, you say, they loaned me the money. No, they didn't. That's the lie. You loaned them money. They turned right around and sold your promissory note to greedy people that wanted to get something for nothing. And they got derivatives, more worthless paper, from your so-called loan. Always remember, your note is money. To the banks, it is an asset, not a liability. That's how the system works, and all along we've been paying them for the privilege of having them deceive us. The truth is, the only thing that has any value in our world from an economic aspect is individual creativity and productivity. We the people are the ones who can give value to anything, the only ones. And for the most part, those who sit in ivory towers with all the money are neither creative nor productive. They are simply master deceivers, con artists that have perfected the art of fraud. Don't get me wrong, they are very good at what they do. After all, they have convinced the entire world to serve them. It's a pretty good job if you can get away with it. The question each of us must ask ourselves is this: am I willing to let them continue to get away with it? An even more important question: am I finally willing to stand in my truth and take responsibility for my own life? Our answers to these questions will determine just how quickly we will move the apparently immovable object. You see, it does not depend on them. It never did. It has always been the base of the pyramid that supports the pinnacle. Yet somehow we have collectively bought into the lie that it is the other way around. How many times have you heard it said that we need the rich because they are the ones that create the jobs? Not true. In America, they have been the ones that have been destroying jobs for decades now, at least 3 decades. Can you not see this? This is what they call globalization and privatization. It's all about their vision of a new world order and their illusion that they are separate from everyone else. Not only separate, but superior. This is how the Matrix was built, on illusions and lies. Here's the truth. All men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. They are not superior to us, and neither are we to them. We are all related, regardless of the family tree. It is this realization, this consciousness, that levels the playing field and moves apparent mountains into the sea. I suspect that most of the ancient monuments that we see in our world today were constructed during a previous golden age. Golden ages are the natural result of a paradigm of unity. I am my brother's keeper. What I do to my brother and sister, I do to me. It is this attitude that enables us to live in peace, and it is living in peace that enables us to unleash the wellsprings of our own creativity and produce heaven on earth. This is the energy that is now enveloping planet Earth. It is the energy of the transformation of human consciousness from which a new humanity is being birthed. The immovable objects are you and me. Are we really immovable? I know we can be stubborn. I know that each of us has a natural tendency to believe that all our perceptions are true. I also know, by looking at my own life, that many things I thought were true in the past no longer hold that sacred quality. I was deceived, and I made my deception easier by often refusing to think outside the box and to look beyond the walls of my own belief system. That's the prison in which I lived, and I called it home. That's the definition I gave to myself, and I called it freedom. But I was wrong. I was always more than I thought I was, more intelligent, more powerful, wiser, wealthier. Yet I settled for being less, and in being less, the illusion seemed all-powerful. What about you? Are you so set in your ways and beliefs that you cannot even entertain the possibility that you could be mistaken or deceived? If so, you are an immovable object. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth. You shall be moved. No matter how stubborn and intransigent you are now, lies can never stand the test of time. All deceptions will succumb to truth. That is simply the way of it, regardless of how it may seem to the contrary. There is no such thing as an immovable object, and no such thing as impossible. In my life, the immovable object of my weakness gave way to greater strength. The immovable object of the lawsuit and the system it represents is giving way to greater freedom, not only for me, but for all those whose lives I touch. Ultimately, I touch everyone's life, for there is only one life here, and it is called creation, remembering that it is the Creator. That is the evolution of consciousness, from the microcosm to the macrocosm, as above, so below, as within, so without. The only truth is unity. The only reality is love. Namaste, and thank you.